I need you to check the time right now. If it's anywhere close to 2:17, you might want to stop watching this. Because the last time I told this story, someone else started waking up at that exact time. And it started the same way for me. I met him online.
I have told this story only once before. Not to the police, not to my family, not even to the therapist I stopped seeing 3 months ago. I am telling it now because I don't sleep anymore. And when I do, I wake up at exactly 2:17 a.m. every single night. That was the time he first messaged me. 3 years ago, I moved to Bozeman, Montana. I wanted quiet, I wanted distance, I wanted snow and mountains, and the kind of silence that makes you feel small but safe. I had just ended a long relationship, and my friends said I was isolating myself. Maybe I was, but there is something about Montana in the winter. The way the sky stretches endlessly, the way the cold presses against your windows like something living that makes loneliness feel almost holy. I rented a small cabin on the edge of town. It wasn't deep wilderness, but it backed into forest, real forest, tall pine trees that groaned in the wind. At night, coyotes howled far enough away to sound almost human. The landlord told me one thing when I signed the lease. "Lock your doors before dark," he said casually. "Out here, things wander." I laughed. I don't laugh about it anymore. I worked remotely, data entry for a medical billing company based in Chicago. Boring work, endless spreadsheets. I started late in the afternoons and worked into the night, not because I had to, but because I liked the quiet hours. I liked when the town lights dimmed and the highway noise faded. Montana nights are different from city nights. There are no sirens, no distant music, no voices through apartment walls, just wind and trees and sometimes something else. But I didn't know that yet. It started on a Tuesday, February. Heavy snow that week, the kind that buries your car and makes the world look soft and innocent. I was taking a break from work around 9:40 p.m., scrolling through a small online forum for people who live in rural areas. It was just a place to share advice, winter survival tips, generator problems, wildlife sightings. That's when I saw his username, PineWatcher217. It was a reply under a thread titled, "Anyone else feel like the woods feel different at night?" His comment was simple. They don't just feel different, they wake up. I remember staring at that sentence longer than I should have. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't obviously creepy, but something about the way he wrote it felt certain, confident, like he knew something. I clicked his profile. No picture, no bio. Account created that same day. He had posted only once, that comment. I should have closed the page. Instead, I replied, "What do you mean by wake up?" I didn't expect him to answer immediately, but he did, within seconds. "You're new to Montana, aren't you?" My chest tightened. It was a common guess. Plenty of newcomers post on that forum. Still, it felt direct. "Yeah," I typed back. "Moved here last month." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. The woods test newcomers. I stared at the screen. I told myself he was just messing with me. Rural people joke like that. Test them how? I asked. His reply came slower this time. They see who notices. That was the first moment I felt something shift. Not fear, not yet, just awareness, as if something had leaned closer. We moved to private messages after that. I don't know why I agreed. Curiosity, maybe. Loneliness. He said he'd lived in the area whole life, knew the forests better than the town itself. He talked about sounds at night, not coyotes, not elk, other sounds, like someone walking when no one is there, like breathing close to your walls, like tapping that doesn't come from branches. I laughed at some of it, told him my cabin was small but sturdy. He asked me something strange then. Do you have trees close to your windows? I hesitated before answering, because yes, one pine tree leaned so close to my bedroom window that its branches brushed the glass during heavy wind. Yeah, I wrote, one. There was a pause, longer this time. Then, they like windows. My skin prickled. I told myself I was being dramatic. At 10:17 p.m., I heard something tap against my living room window. I froze. It was probably wind. It was windy that night. I glanced at the window. Nothing unusual. I looked back at my screen. You'll start noticing patterns, he wrote. The tapping came again, 3 times, slow, intentional, not wind. Wind drags, scratches, scrapes. This was tap, tap, tap. I stood up slowly and walked toward the window.
The porch light was on. Snow covered the ground, smooth, untouched, no footprints. I leaned closer to the glass. Nothing, just my own reflection. Behind me, my laptop chimed. New message. Did you hear it? My heart dropped into my stomach. I stared at the screen. My fingers felt stiff. Hear what? I typed, forcing calm. His reply came instantly. The branch. My eyes snapped back to the tree. The branch closest to the window wasn't moving. The wind had died down. Everything was still. Too still. I didn't sleep much that night. Every small sound felt amplified. The refrigerator turning on, the heater clicking, the wood settling. At 2:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I didn't answer. A text came instead. You shouldn't ignore it. I stared at the number. Blocked ID. My chest tightened. Another text. They prefer acknowledgement. I didn't respond. I blocked the number. Told myself it was him. He must have found my phone somehow. Maybe from the forum. Maybe I had overshared something without realizing. It was creepy, but not impossible. Not supernatural. Just a man being weird. That's what I told myself. That's what I needed to believe. The next morning, I stepped outside to shovel snow, and that's when I saw it. Footprints. One set, leading from the tree to my bedroom window. They stopped there. No return prints, no second trail, just one path that ended directly beneath the glass. I told myself it was from earlier in the day, but I hadn't been outside, and it had snowed heavily overnight. Those prints were fresh, sharp edges, crisp impressions, as if made after the snowfall ended. My throat felt dry. I looked toward the forest line. The trees stood silent, watching. That night, he messaged again. "Did you look outside?" I didn't answer. "You did." 3 dots. They always come closer after first contact. I typed back before I could stop myself. "Is this some kind of joke?" His reply, "No." Pause. Then, "You opened the conversation." I felt anger then, real anger, the kind that fights fear. "I'm calling the police," I wrote. "If you come near my house again, I'm calling the police." There was no response for several minutes. Then, it wasn't me. My stomach twisted. I don't leave prints. And that was when I realized something. His username, PineWatcher217. 217. The time, every night, 2:17 a.m. That was the first week, and that was before the breathing started. I didn't believe him then. I still believed there was a man, a prank, a sick game. But on the 8th night, when the tapping came from the inside of the glass instead of the outside, that was when I began to understand. And when I checked the forum again, his account no longer existed, but my private messages were still there. Only now, every single one of them ended with a line I swear had not been there before. A line that repeated over and over, "We see who notices." And underneath that, time-stamped, 2:17 a.m., even on messages sent at 9:40 p.m. That was when I realized something was very wrong, because that wasn't possible. And I was about to learn that the woods outside my cabin weren't the only things watching me. The real horror hadn't even started yet. I didn't tell anyone. That is the part that still makes me feel stupid. I didn't tell my sister in Denver. I didn't tell my landlord. I didn't tell the police. Because how do you explain something that sounds insane even to you? "Hi, yes, I think the forest is messaging me through a deleted account." They would have laughed, or worse, worried. So I did what people always do when something doesn't fit into logic. I minimized it. I rationalized it. I stayed. The breathing started on a Sunday night. It was quieter than the tapping, almost polite. I had fallen asleep on the couch with my laptop open on the coffee table. The TV was off. The only light in the room came from the small lamp near the kitchen. I woke up because I felt watched. Not because of noise, because of pressure. You know that feeling when someone stands too close behind you? That invisible weight in the air? That's what pulled me awake. The clock on the microwave read 2:16 a.m. I remember that clearly. 2:16. I held my breath without realizing it. And then, exhale, soft, close, from somewhere near the living room window. I froze. Another inhale, slow, wet, like air being dragged through something narrow. I sat up slowly on the couch. The room was dim. Shadows stretched long against the walls. The pine tree outside brushed gently against the glass, but there was no wind. The breathing continued, steady, patient. I whispered, "Hello." Silence. Then the breathing stopped, just like that. I waited. Nothing. I stood up carefully and walked toward the window. My reflection looked pale, my eyes wide. I pressed my ear close to the glass. Nothing. No breath, no movement, just stillness. I told myself it was the heater cycling. Old cabins make strange sounds.
I went back to the couch. The microwave clock clicked over. 2:17 a.m. My laptop screen lit up. A notification, even though I had closed the forum tab hours ago. A message window opened on its own. No username, no profile picture, just a blank gray icon. The message read, "You heard it." My heart began to pound so hard I could feel it in my throat. I typed back with shaking fingers, "Who is this?" The reply came instantly. "You acknowledged it." Another message followed before I could respond. That was a mistake. The lamp near the kitchen flickered, once, twice, then steadied. The breathing started again, but this time it wasn't near the window. It was behind me. I didn't turn around immediately. That's something people don't understand. In horror movies, the character spins around at the first sign of danger. In real life, your body doesn't want confirmation. If you don't turn, it might not be real. The breathing was close enough that I felt warmth brush the back of my neck. Slow inhale, long exhale. I could hear a faint rasp at the end of each breath, like lungs that had forgotten how to work properly. I squeezed my eyes shut. "This isn't real," I whispered. The laptop chimed again. "Don't turn around." My skin went cold. I didn't want to look at the screen, but I did. It doesn't like to be seen too early. The breathing grew heavier, closer. My scalp prickled. Something touched my hair, lightly, like fingers grazing strands. I spun around. Nothing. Empty air. The couch. The hallway leading to the bedroom. No one there. The breathing stopped. The lamp went out completely. The cabin fell into darkness. And from somewhere near the hallway, tap, tap, tap. Not on glass, on wood, inside the house. I ran. I don't remember deciding to run. My body just moved. I grabbed my phone and bolted toward the front door. My hands shook so badly I could barely unlock it. When I flung it open, icy wind hit my face. The porch light flickered on automatically. Snow covered everything. Smooth, undisturbed, no footprints, not even mine yet. I stumbled out barefoot,
not caring about the cold biting into my skin. I stood there, chest heaving, staring back at the open door. The hallway inside was pitch black, but for a moment, I swear I saw something darker than the darkness. A shape standing at the end of the hall. Tall, too tall. Head tilted slightly to one side, watching. The porch light blinked, once, twice, and when it steadied, the hallway was empty. I don't remember going back inside, but I did, because when I came back to myself, I was sitting on the couch again, door locked, lights on, laptop closed, phone in my hand. The clock read 2:32 a.m. I checked my messages. Nothing new. No blank profile. No 2:17 timestamp. I opened the forum. My account had posted something, a comment under the original thread. I don't remember typing it. It said, "I see you too." Posted at 2:17 a.m. The next morning, I found scratches on the inside of my living room window. 3 vertical lines, deep enough to feel with my fingernail. Not cracks, scratches, from the inside. I tried to convince myself I did it in my panic, but they were too straight, too deliberate, and too high, higher than I could comfortably reach. That day, I drove into town. I needed noise, people. I sat in a crowded coffee shop longer than necessary, just listening to conversations around me. Laughter, music, the hiss of the espresso machine. It grounded me. I almost believed I imagined everything, until my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stared at it for a long time before opening the message. Running won't help. My chest tightened. Another message followed. It followed you before you moved here. I felt dizzy. Before I moved? That made no sense. I blocked the number again, immediately. Then I turned my phone off completely. That night, I decided I wouldn't stay awake. I would take something to help me sleep. I swallowed 2 over-the-counter sleep aids and lay in bed by 10 p.m. The pine tree brushed faintly against the window. Scratch, scratch, scratch. I pulled the curtains closed tightly. I remember checking the clock. 11:48 p.m. Then, nothing. I woke up to the sound of whispering, not breathing, whispering. Multiple voices, soft, layered, like wind carrying fragments of conversation. My eyes opened slowly. The room was dark, but not completely. There was a faint glow near the window, pale blue. I turned my head. The curtains were open. I know I closed them. I know I did. They hung motionless, framing the window like parted lips. Outside, the pine tree stood still, but the glow wasn't outside. It was reflected on the glass from inside my room. I sat up slowly. The whispering grew clearer. It wasn't random. It was repeating something over and over. I strained to hear it. And then I understood. They were repeating my own words, fragments from my messages. Test them how? Is this a joke? You're stalking me. I see you too. Over and over, layered, mocking. I looked at the clock. 2:17 a.m. Of course, the glow intensified, and then a hand pressed against the outside of the glass. Long fingers, too long, pale. The skin looked stretched tight over bone. The hand slid downward slowly, leaving no print, just movement. My body wouldn't move. I couldn't scream. I couldn't breathe. The whispering stopped all at once. The hand disappeared, and in its place, my reflection. But it wasn't mimicking me. It was smiling. I wasn't. I don't remember what happened after that. There are gaps in my memory now, missing minutes, sometimes hours. But the next thing I clearly remember is standing outside the cabin at sunrise, barefoot again, front door wide open. Snow disturbed this time, not just one set of prints, multiple, circling the house, leading to every window, every wall, and one set leading away from the cabin, into the forest. I don't know why I followed them. Maybe because I was tired of waiting, tired of not knowing. The prints were deep, as if whatever made them was heavy, but the stride was strange, too long, too far apart, like something that didn't walk the way we do. They led between the trees. The forest felt different that morning, quieter, thicker, like the air had weight. After about 50 yards, the prints stopped abruptly. No gradual fade, no turn, just gone, as if whatever made them had simply lifted. I looked up slowly, and that was when I noticed something carved into the bark of the nearest pine tree. 3 vertical lines, fresh, sap still wet, the same marks as my window, and beneath them, numbers, 2:17, cut deep into the wood.
My stomach dropped because I hadn't brought my phone with me. I had left it inside. But from somewhere behind me, a notification sound echoed through the trees. Clear, digital, close. I turned my head sharply, and that was when I saw him for the first time, or at least what I thought he was, standing between two trees, too tall, head tilted, watching. And this time, he wasn't just a shadow. I didn't run. I think that's what surprises me most when I replay that morning in my head. I didn't scream. I didn't bolt back toward the cabin. I just stood there, staring at him, at it. The trees around us were tall, straight pines, their trunks rising like pillars into a pale gray sky. Snow clung to the branches, heavy and silent. The air smelled sharp, sap and cold earth, and something faintly metallic. He stood maybe 30 feet away, too tall. At first I thought it was a trick of perspective. Maybe he was standing on a fallen log. Maybe the ground dipped where I stood. But no, his head nearly brushed the lower branches, at least 7 feet tall, maybe more. He wore something dark, a coat maybe, long, hanging straight down, without moving, even though I could feel wind against my face. His head tilted slightly to the side, the same angle I had seen in the hallway, watching. I couldn't see his face clearly. It was too shadowed, like the light refused to settle there. But I could tell he was looking directly at me. My phone notification sound chimed again, behind me, from deeper in the woods, not from my pocket. I hadn't brought it. The sound came again, ping, clear, familiar, the default tone for a new message. I swallowed. "You're not real," I said out loud. My voice sounded small, absorbed by the snow. He didn't move. Another ping, this time closer, to my right. I turned my head sharply. Nothing there but trees. When I looked back to where he had been, he was closer. Not by walking, not by stepping, just closer. Now maybe 15 feet away, still tilted, still watching. My heart began to pound so hard it blurred my vision. "I'm going back," I whispered, more to myself than to him. I took one step backward. His head straightened slowly. That was the first movement I saw. It was wrong, too smooth, like something adjusting on a hinge. The notification sound came again, directly behind me this time, close enough that I flinched. And then a whisper, right near my ear.
You opened the conversation. I spun around. No one. Just trees, snow, silence. When I turned back again, he was gone, completely. The forest looked empty, ordinary, like it always had, except now I felt something behind every trunk, between every branch, watching. I ran back to the cabin. This time I did run. I didn't look behind me. I didn't stop to breathe. When I burst through the front door, it slammed hard against the wall. Inside, everything looked normal, too normal. The couch where I had slept, the closed laptop on the coffee table, the kitchen light still on. My phone lay exactly where I had left it. I walked toward it slowly, like it might explode. The screen was dark. I picked it up. No notifications, no new messages, no missed calls. I checked the forum. Nothing. No blank profile. No strange comments. Just ordinary threads about snowplows and power outages. I checked my sent messages. My last private message was from days ago. Nothing at 2:17. No, I see you too. It was gone. All of it. My hands began to shake. I opened my photo gallery, and that's when my breath caught in my throat. There were photos I didn't remember taking. Dozens of them.
all time-stamped 2:17 a.m. Each photo was of my house from outside, different angles, the living room window, the bedroom window, the back wall near the forest, snow visible in every shot, the porch light glowing in some, darkness in others. In one photo, I could see myself through the bedroom window, standing near the glass, looking out, but I had no memory of being outside to take that photo. I zoomed in. Behind me, in the reflection, something stood in the room, tall, head tilted. I dropped the phone. It hit the wooden floor with a sharp crack. The screen didn't shatter. It stayed lit. Another photo appeared automatically, like a slideshow. This one was closer. The window filled most of the frame, my reflection clearer, and the figure behind me closer too. Its face still shadowed, but I could see its mouth now, too wide, not smiling, just stretched, like skin pulled too tight. The phone vibrated in my hand. A new message, unknown number. I didn't want to open it, but I did. "What are you?" The reply came instantly. "You already know." Another message followed. "You saw me before Montana." That line froze my blood. Before Montana. Before I moved. My mind raced backwards. Chicago, my old apartment, the breakup, late nights scrolling on my phone. There had been someone online back then too. Different username, similar tone. I had ignored him, blocked him, deleted the app. I had thought it was just another strange man on the internet, a lonely weirdo. But what if... The whisper came again, from inside the cabin, not from the phone. "You opened it then." I turned slowly toward the hallway. The air felt thicker, heavier. The temperature seemed lower. My breath fogged faintly. I took one step toward the hallway. The floor creaked under my weight. Another step. The bedroom door was slightly open. I knew I had closed it earlier. I reached for the handle. My fingers hesitated on the handle. From inside the room, breathing, slow, raspy, waiting. I pushed the door open. The room was empty. Bed neatly made. Curtains hanging still. Window closed. But carved on the inside of the wooden door, 3 vertical lines. Fresh. Splinters on the floor beneath them. My knees nearly gave out because I didn't do that, and I had locked the door before bed. I knew I had. My phone vibrated again in my hand. Acknowledgement strengthens it. My fingers trembled. What strengthens? The typing dots appeared, stayed, disappeared. Then a final message came. The space between. The lights flickered, not once, not twice, but rapidly, like something was interfering with the wiring. The breathing started again, this time not from one direction, from everywhere, behind the walls, inside the ceiling, under the floor, layered, surrounding. The cabin felt smaller suddenly, like the walls were leaning inward. I stumbled back into the living room. The pine tree branch outside scraped against the glass. Scratch, 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 in rhythm. 3 strokes, pause, 3 strokes, the same pattern carved in wood, the same pattern in the snow, the same pattern on my window. My phone screen went black, then lit up again. Front camera activated automatically. I stared at my own face, pale, eyes wide, tears forming without me noticing. And then the image shifted slightly, as if someone had adjusted the angle. Behind me, in the live camera feed, something stood near the kitchen. I didn't turn around this time. I kept my eyes on the screen. The figure was clearer now, limbs too long, arms hanging almost to its knees, head tilted again, but now I could see its eyes. Not glowing, not dramatic, just empty, like holes cut into skin. It began to lean closer, not walking, leaning, as if the air itself bent toward me. The whisper came again, but this time it came from my own mouth. The voice sounded like mine, but lower, layered. You invited it. My reflection on the screen smiled. I wasn't smiling. My lips felt still, frozen. The figure behind me raised one long arm, slowly, deliberately, reaching toward my shoulder. I could see its fingers in the camera, almost touching me, and that's when I felt it, cold, on my skin, right at the base of my neck. I dropped the phone and screamed. When I spun around, the kitchen was empty. The breathing stopped instantly. The lights steadied. Silence filled the cabin, complete, unnatural silence. Even the wind had stopped. I stood there shaking, listening for anything. Nothing. My phone lay face down on the floor. I didn't want to pick it up, but I had to know. I flipped it over slowly. The screen displayed one final message, no number attached, just text. You can't close what you opened. And beneath it, a photo, taken seconds ago, from inside the house, of me, standing there, holding the phone. And behind me, the figure wasn't in the kitchen anymore. It was closer, right behind my shoulder, head no longer tilted, perfectly straight, looking directly into the camera and smiling. But this time, its smile looked exactly like mine.
That was the day I tried to leave Montana. I packed a bag in under 10 minutes. I didn't care about furniture, didn't care about the lease. I just needed distance. As I loaded my car, I felt eyes on me from the tree line, but I refused to look. I got in the driver's seat, locked the doors, and started the engine. The dashboard clock flickered once before stabilizing. 2:17 p.m. In the afternoon. I checked my watch. It was 11:42 a.m. The dashboard flickered again, back to 11:42. I swallowed hard. I pulled out of the driveway. The forest seemed to close in as I drove, branches heavier, shadows darker. Halfway down the dirt road, my phone buzzed in the passenger seat. I told myself I wouldn't check it. I lasted 5 seconds. One new message. Distance doesn't matter. Another came immediately. It isn't in the woods. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. The final message appeared. It's in you. The engine died, just like that, in the middle of the road. Silence. I turned the key again. Nothing. The phone vibrated one last time. Turn around. And slowly, from the rear view mirror, I saw the back seat shift slightly, as if something tall was unfolding itself there. And for the first time, I had never actually seen it enter the cabin, because maybe it never had to. I didn't turn around immediately, not because I was brave, but because I was afraid that if I looked directly at it, I would understand something I could never forget. The engine was dead. The dashboard lights were off. Snow fell lightly now, drifting past the windshield in soft, lazy spirals. The rear-view mirror trembled slightly, and in it I saw movement, slow, deliberate, like something unfolding its limbs in a cramped space. My back seat had always been small, just enough room for groceries, a backpack, nothing more. But in the mirror, the shadows stretched longer than they should have. The head rose first, too high, pressing against the cabin ceiling without bending. Then shoulders, narrow, angular. The shape didn't sit, it straightened, filling the back seat without sound. I still hadn't turned around. My breath came shallow. I could hear it again, that breathing, closer now, inside the car, behind me. My phone lit up on the passenger seat. 2:17 p.m.
It flickered between 11:43 a.m. and 2:17 p.m., like the clock couldn't decide which time was real. A new message appeared. You don't have to look. Another followed. You already know my face. The breathing grew heavier, warmer against the back of my neck, the same spot it had touched inside the cabin. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles hurt. "I'm not afraid of you," I whispered. That was a lie. The whisper came back from the back seat, layered over my own voice. "You are." The rear-view mirror tilted downward suddenly, as if nudged by an unseen hand. Now I couldn't see it, only my own wide eyes staring back at me. And in my reflection, I saw something move across my face, not behind me, across me, like a shadow passing through skin. I gasped and turned around. The back seat was empty, completely empty. No tall figure, no shadow, nothing. The cabin ceiling wasn't even dented. The air felt normal, cold, still. My heart hammered painfully in my chest. The engine roared back to life without me turning the key. The dashboard clock steadied at 11:44 a.m., like nothing had happened, like it had never died. I didn't wait. I pressed the gas and drove. I made it to town without another incident. The forest thinned. Houses appeared. People walked sidewalks with coffee cups in hand, laughing, living. Everything looked painfully normal. I drove straight to a motel near the highway, a place with bright lights and cameras in the parking lot. I needed walls that weren't surrounded by trees. I checked in without making eye contact with the clerk. Room 217. I froze when he handed me the key card. "Sorry," he said casually. "System auto-assigns. Want a different one?" I swallowed. "No, it's fine." I don't know why I said that. Maybe part of me already knew. The room was small, beige walls, stiff white sheets, a humming air conditioner. Safe. Ordinary. I locked the door twice, then wedged a chair under the handle. I sat on the bed and stared at my phone. No new messages, no unknown numbers, no strange photos. I opened my gallery again. The forest photos were gone, every single one. My recent pictures now showed normal things: coffee mugs, snow outside the cabin, random screenshots. It was like the last week had been erased, except the scratches on my neck were still there. 3 faint red lines at the base of my skin. I hadn't noticed them before. They stung when I touched them. My phone buzzed. I flinched so hard I nearly dropped it. One notification. An email from a platform I hadn't used in years. A dating app. The subject line read, "We've found your perfect match." My stomach dropped. I hadn't logged into that app since Chicago, since before Montana. My hands trembled as I opened it. The profile photo didn't load, just a gray silhouette. Username, Watcher217. My chest tightened painfully. The bio read, "We met before. You just didn't notice." My heart raced. Chicago, before Montana, before the forum. I scrolled up through my old messages on the app. There it was, 3 years ago. A conversation I barely remembered. A man who messaged me late at night, asking strange questions about whether I ever felt watched, about whether he believed some connections were older than memory. I stopped replying after a week, blocked him, deleted the app, moved on. Except maybe I hadn't. The motel bathroom light flickered just once. The air conditioner shut off abruptly. The room fell into unnatural silence. Then, knock, knock, knock.
Same rhythm as the scratches. 3. Pause. 3. I stayed silent. The knocking stopped. Footsteps retreated down the hallway. Or maybe they didn't. Maybe they just faded. My phone buzzed again. A message from the dating app. You can't block what you answered. I threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall and slid down to the carpet. The screen didn't crack.
It never cracked. It lit up again. Front camera activated. I stared at the tiny image from across the room. The camera faced the door, and in the live feed, I saw something on the other side. Pressed close, a shape, tall, head tilted, its face almost flush against the wood, like it was listening. The doorknob began to turn slowly. The chair under it creaked. I couldn't move. The knob twisted further, but the door didn't open. Instead, the whisper came through the wood, soft, patient. You carried me. The lights went out. Total darkness. I scrambled for the bedside lamp. It didn't work. The air felt colder, thicker. The whisper was closer now, not outside the door, inside the room, right beside the bed. You answered. I could feel something leaning over me. The mattress dipped slightly near my legs. I forced myself to look, slowly, upward. There was no tall shadow this time, no stretched limbs, no distorted face. Instead, I saw myself, standing beside the bed, looking down at me, perfectly still, perfectly calm, but smiling. And when that version of me spoke, the voice came from both mouths. You let me in when you were lonely. Memories flooded back all at once. Chicago, late nights scrolling, feeling unseen, typing to a stranger because silence felt worse, answering questions that felt strange but intimate, telling him about my fears, about feeling watched even as a child, about the imaginary friend I used to talk to in my bedroom at night, the one who stood near the window, head tilted, listening. My breath caught. It wasn't new. It had never been new. It had always been there. It just needed a door, and I had given it one, over and over. Every time I acknowledged it, every time I responded, every time I looked. The version of me beside the bed leaned closer. Its eyes were empty now, hollow, dark. You noticed. And suddenly, I understood the pattern. 2/17, February 17th, my childhood journal entry. The day I wrote that I thought something in my room breathed with me at night. I had been 7 years old. February 17th, 2:17 a.m., the first time I whispered back. The motel room began to feel like the cabin. The walls pressed inward. The air thickened. My other self reached out slowly. Its fingers hovered inches above my chest. If I stop responding, I whispered. It tilted its head, same familiar angle. You won't. I closed my eyes. I forced myself to go completely still. No reaction, no words, no acknowledgement. The room grew silent, oppressively silent. The presence lingered, waiting. My body screamed to look, to check, to confirm it was still there, but I didn't. Minutes passed, or hours, I don't know. Eventually, the mattress lifted, the weight disappeared, the air thinned. I opened my eyes slowly. The room was empty,
Lights back on, air conditioner humming, phone dark on the carpet, the door closed, chair still wedged beneath the handle. Normal, completely normal, except for one thing. The clock on the nightstand read 2:17 a.m. I had no memory of falling asleep, no memory of time passing. I checked my phone. No messages, no dating app. The app wasn't even installed, but in my call log, there was one outgoing call at 2:17 a.m. to my own number. Duration, 17 minutes. I don't remember making it. I don't remember what was said, but when I held the phone to my ear, I heard faint breathing on the recording, and underneath it, my own voice whispering softly, "I see you too." I left Montana. I left the motel. I moved across the country, different state, different number, different everything. But it didn't matter, because it was never in the woods, never in the cabin, never in the back seat. It was in the space between being alone and wanting to be seen. It was in acknowledgement. And every night at exactly 2:17 a.m., I wake up. No alarms, no notifications, just awareness. And sometimes, if I listen carefully, I hear breathing that doesn't match mine, right beside me, waiting. I don't respond anymore. I don't look toward the corner. I don't check my phone, because I understand now. It doesn't need the forest. It doesn't need the internet. It doesn't even need my loneliness. It only needs one thing: to be noticed. And if you've listened this far, if you've imagined it, if you've pictured the tall shape with its head tilted slightly to one side, then maybe you've already done the same thing I did. Maybe tonight at 2:17, you'll wake up too. And when you do, don't answer it, no matter how familiar the voice sounds. Because the worst part isn't that it follows you. It's that one day, when you catch your reflection smiling, you won't be entirely sure which one of you opened the conversation first. I wish I could tell you it stopped, that ignoring it saved me, that silence closed whatever door I opened, but that wouldn't be true. It only changed tactics. It doesn't knock anymore. It doesn't scratch walls. It doesn't stand at the edge of rooms like a shadow waiting to be noticed. Now it waits inside reflections, small things, subtle things, a blink that feels delayed, a smile that lingers half a second too long, a tilt of the head when I know my neck never moved. And sometimes, when I wake at 2:17 a.m., I don't hear breathing beside me. I hear typing, soft, steady, like fingers on glass. Last week, I woke up to the glow of my phone lighting the ceiling. It was face down on the nightstand, but light spilled from beneath it. I told myself not to check. I lasted 30 seconds. When I flipped it over, there was a draft message open, on a platform I hadn't used in months. A blank account, no profile picture, no followers, just one unsent message, addressed to someone I didn't know. It read, "I see you too." My blood cold, because I hadn't typed it, but the cursor blinked at the end of the sentence, like it was waiting for me to press send. I locked the phone immediately, turned it off, left it in another room. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, I turned it back on. The draft was gone. No evidence, no app history, nothing. But that same day, I got a notification from a new account following me. Username, "You noticed 2:17. No posts, no bio, just one story highlight. I don't know why I opened it. I should have known better. It was a black screen, no image, just audio, breathing, slow, familiar, and beneath it, a whisper, layered, soft, patient. You're ready. The story ended there, but it's still up. I never blocked the account. I can't, because something inside me is terrified that if I do, it will go back to scratching at windows, or worse, it will stop waiting in reflections and step forward completely, fully visible, fully present, no distance, no filter, just standing in the room with me, head tilted, smiling, waiting for acknowledgement. I'm telling you this because I need someone else to hear it, because silence feeds it, isolation strengthens it, and maybe, if enough people know, if enough people refuse to answer, it will weaken. Or maybe that's just another lie I'm telling myself.
If you're listening right now, tell me something honestly. Have you ever felt watched when you were completely alone? Have you ever sent a message to someone online late at night and felt like the conversation was deeper than it should have been? Have you ever woken up at the same exact time more than once? If you have, I need you to comment below. Tell me what time you wake up. Tell me if you've seen your reflection move when you didn't. Because I need to know if it's just me, or if it's looking for someone else who notices. And if this story unsettled you, if it made you check the corners of your room, if you felt even a second of that quiet dread, then like this video. Share it with someone who stays up late scrolling, someone who answers unknown messages, someone who feels alone at night. Because the more people who hear this, the harder it might be for it to stay hidden. And if you want me to tell you what happened the first time I actually answered it after Montana, the one thing I've never said out loud, then subscribe. Because I don't think I can keep this to myself much longer. The clock just changed, 2:17 a.m., and I swear I just heard my phone vibrate from inside the room I left it in.